Tonight, before you close your eyes, imagine this. The sky was dark, the sea was restless, and the wind would not stop howling. The boat rocked violently from side to side. Water crashed against the wood. The disciples were experienced fishermen, and even they were afraid. Have you ever felt like that? Like your life was steady one moment, and then suddenly everything began to shake? The bills, the diagnosis, the silence from someone you love, the prayer that still hasn't been answered. Storms don't always roar outside. Sometimes they rage quietly, inside your chest. And here's the part that unsettles us most. Jesus was in the boat, but he was asleep. Can you imagine that? The waves rising, the wind screaming, fear filling every breath, and the Son of God resting peacefully on a cushion. It almost feels unfair. Don't you care that we are perishing? That question still echoes through centuries. Maybe you've whispered it too. Lord, don't you see what I'm going through? Why does it feel like you're silent? Why does it feel like you're sleeping? Tonight, we are stepping into that boat, not to relive the panic, but to discover something deeper. Because what looked like silence was never absence. What looked like indifference was never neglect. And what felt like chaos was already under his authority. So if your mind has been restless, if your thoughts have been loud, if your heart feels like it's been caught in waves, stay here. Breathe slowly. The storm may be real, but so is the one in your boat. And before this night is over, you may discover something the disciples learned in awe. The storm never had the final word. He did. There is a kind of storm that everyone can see, and then there is the kind no one notices. The second kind is the one that keeps you awake at night. It's the quiet pressure in your chest, the constant replaying of conversations, the what if that refuses to leave your mind. You can smile during the day, you can function, you can answer messages, but when the lights go off, the waves return. Maybe your storm sounds like this. What if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I lose them? What if nothing changes? The disciples had waves crashing against their boat, but your waves may look different. Financial uncertainty, a relationship that feels fragile, a future that looks unclear, a prayer that feels unanswered. Storms don't ask permission. They don't check your schedule. They don't wait until you feel ready. They just rise. And sometimes what shakes us the most is not the storm itself. It's the silence. Because we were told, if Jesus is near, there will be peace. If Jesus is present, there will be calm. So when the wind increases, and the sky darkens, and the boat begins to tilt, we start wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I miss a sign? Did God step away? The disciples looked at the waves. Then they looked at Jesus. And he was asleep, not worried, not pacing, not reacting, resting. That image can feel confusing, because when we are anxious, we want movement. We want immediate solutions. We want visible intervention. We want the storm gone now. But instead, there was a sleeping Savior. Have you ever felt like heaven was quiet when you needed it loud? Like your prayers hit the ceiling and fell back down? Like you were rowing with all your strength and still drifting? You are not strange for feeling that way. You are human. Even strong believers have moments when faith feels thin. Even those who love God deeply can feel fear creeping in at night. The disciples were not weak men. They had seen miracles. They had watched the blind see, and the sick healed. And yet one storm made them panic. Sometimes it only takes one wave to expose how fragile we feel. One diagnosis, one rejection, one unexpected call, and suddenly the water feels too high. But here is something gentle to consider. The presence of fear does not mean the absence of faith. It simply means you are in the middle of something overwhelming. Storms distort perspective. They make small boats feel smaller. They make wind sound louder. They make darkness feel heavier. And in those moments, our minds start creating worst-case endings. What if this is the end? What if we don't make it? The disciples actually said it. Teacher, don't you care if we drown? That question is honest. And maybe tonight, your heart has asked something similar. God, do you see me? Do you care about this? Are you going to do something? There is no shame in that question. It is the cry of someone who feels unstable, and instability is exhausting. You weren't designed to live in constant alert mode. You weren't meant to brace for impact every day. Your nervous system gets tired. Your thoughts get noisy. Your body holds tension. And then night comes. When everything slows down, your mind speeds up. The storm that distracted you all day now demands attention. But pause for a moment. In that boat, Jesus was not absent. He was present. He was not ignoring them. He was resting. And this is where the story begins to shift. Because the storm was real. The fear was real. The water was real. But so was he. And sometimes the most painful part of the storm is not the wind. It's believing you are alone in it. Tonight, before we move forward in the story, let this settle softly in your heart. You are not strange for feeling overwhelmed. You are not weak for feeling afraid. You are not forgotten in the middle of your waves. Storms happen, but the boat you're in is not empty. And even if it feels like heaven is quiet, he is closer than the wind. My child, you have been listening to the wind for too long. You have measured the height of the waves. You have studied the darkness of the sky. You have calculated every possible outcome. But you have not looked at me. I was in the boat the entire time. When the wind began to rise, I was there. When the first wave struck the side, I was there. When fear entered your thoughts, I was still there. You measured the storm by its volume. I measured it by its limits. You saw chaos. I saw boundaries. The wind cannot move without permission. The sea cannot rise beyond what I allow. And the storm that frightens you has never frightened me. You ask why I was resting. Because I was not threatened. You thought my silence meant indifference. But my rest was confidence. I do not pace when problems appear. I do not panic when circumstances shift. I do not rush because you are afraid. I remain steady. And I invited you into that steadiness. My child, the storm did not wake me. Fear did. Not because I was unaware of the wind, but because I wanted you to bring your fear to me. You shook me and said, "Do you not care?" And even in that question, I heard your faith. Because you ran to me. You did not abandon the boat. You did not jump into the sea. You came to me. Fear brought you closer. And I will never reject a heart that runs toward me in desperation. Listen carefully now. The presence of a storm does not mean the absence of my care. If I am in your boat, then the boat cannot sink outside my will. You think survival depends on your strength, but it depends on my authority. The waves may strike, the wind may howl, but nothing touches you without passing through my hands first. You have been trying to control the sea, but the sea was never yours to control. It was mine, and it still is. Rest does not come from a calm environment. It comes from confidence in who is with you. You are exhausted because you are trying to predict tomorrow. You are tired because you are bracing for impact that has not happened. You are worn down because you are fighting battles that were never assigned to you. Lay them down. The storm is loud, but my voice is greater. You have trained your ears to hear anxiety. Now train your heart to hear me. I am not intimidated by your future. I am already there. You wonder why I allowed the storm at all. Why not prevent it? Why not keep the sea smooth? Because you only discover the depth of trust when the surface is disturbed. Before the storm, you admired me. During the storm, you depended on me. There is a difference. Admiration watches from a distance. Dependence reaches and clings. I am not offended by your fear. I am shaping your trust. You believe peace means the absence of noise. But true peace is the presence of me. I stood up in that boat. The wind did not negotiate. The sea did not argue. Creation recognizes its creator. Peace. Be still. And instantly, what terrified you became silent. Do you understand what that means? The storm obeyed a whisper. Not because the storm was weak, but because my authority is absolute. And that same authority is present in your life tonight. The storm you fear already has an expiration date. It will not last forever. No storm ever has. You think this moment defines you. It does not. You think this pressure will break you. It will refine you. You think you are barely surviving, but you are being strengthened in ways you cannot yet see. My child, you have underestimated how protected you are. You have underestimated how closely I watch. You have underestimated how deeply I care. Even when I appear still, I am working. Even when I appear silent, I am holding everything together. Even when I appear distant, I am nearer than your breath. You are not navigating this sea alone. You never have. The boat feels fragile to you, but it is carried by my will. Nothing can overturn what I have decided to sustain. Your fear says, this is the end. My authority says, this is a chapter. Your mind says, we are sinking. My presence says, you are safe. And safety is not the absence of waves. It is the certainty of who stands with you in them. Look at me, not the wind, not the water, not the horizon. Me. Peace begins where your focus shifts. Tonight, as you lie down, I am still in your boat. The waves in your life may not disappear instantly, but they do not define the outcome. You fear what might happen tomorrow, but tomorrow is already in my hands. You replay conversations. I see the full story. You imagine worst-case endings. I see restoration you cannot yet imagine. You measure time by minutes. I measure by eternity. Nothing that concerns you is small to me. Nothing that hurts you goes unnoticed. Nothing that scares you escapes my awareness. When you feel alone, I am closest. When you feel weakest, my strength is most active. When you feel uncertain, my plan is most secure. Do not confuse stillness with inactivity. I am never inactive. Even in the storm, I was present. Even in the silence, I was aware. Even in the fear, I was in control. And when I stood and spoke, it was not panic. It was timing. There is a timing to calm. There is a timing to breakthrough. There is a timing to stillness. And you are held inside that timing. You do not need to force the wind to stop. You do not need to scream louder than the storm. You do not need to hold the boat together by yourself. Rest. The same voice that calmed that sea is still sovereign over your life. The same authority that silenced that wind is still active tonight. The same presence that stood in that boat stands with you now. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not sinking. You are being carried. And when the moment is right, you will see the water settle. Until then, let my rest become your rest. Let my steadiness steady you. Let my peace silence what fear has amplified. Close your eyes, my child. The storm answers to me, and I am here. There is something almost unsettling about the image. A storm strong enough to terrify seasoned fishermen. And Jesus asleep, not pretending to sleep, not half aware, not anxiously resting, deeply asleep. That detail matters, because it forces a question. What kind of confidence allows someone to rest in the middle of chaos? We often assume that immediate action equals care. If someone loves us, they respond quickly. If someone is powerful, they intervene instantly. If someone sees danger, they remove it right away. But what if restraint is not neglect? What if stillness is not absence? What if delay is not denial? The disciples interpreted his sleep as indifference, but they were measuring the situation from inside fear. And fear distorts perception. From inside the storm, everything feels urgent. Everything feels final. Everything feels catastrophic. But from where he was resting, the ending was never in question. The storm did not surprise him. It did not threaten him. It did not challenge his authority. So why wait? Why allow the wind to rise at all? Because sometimes the storm reveals what calm never could. Before the storm, the disciples knew his miracles. After the storm, they knew his authority over creation itself. Before the storm, they followed him. After the storm, they feared him in awe. There is a difference between knowing about power and witnessing it silence what terrifies you most. The delay was not cruelty. It was revelation. If he had stopped the wind at the first gust, they would have admired him. But because he waited until fear surfaced, they encountered something deeper. Who is this, that even the wind and the waves obey him? That question was born from delay. And perhaps tonight, you are living inside a delay. You prayed. The wind continued. You asked. The waves still rose. You hoped. The sky remained dark. And it feels like heaven is resting. But consider this gently. A delayed calm does not mean a denied calm. A silent moment does not mean an absent God. Sometimes the space between prayer and peace is where trust is strengthened. If peace came instantly every time, you would trust outcomes, not him. If storms disappeared the moment they formed, you would lean on control, not surrender. Delay stretches trust. It exposes what you rely on. It reveals whether your peace is rooted in circumstances or in presence. And here is something even more comforting. The storm was never out of control. It was always under permission. Nothing in that sea operated independently. The wind did not act freely. The waves did not rebel without limit. Creation moved within boundaries. And so does the storm in your life. It feels chaotic, but it is not sovereign. It feels overwhelming, but it is not ultimate. It feels endless, but it is temporary. Delay often feels like danger, but delay can also be preparation. Preparation for deeper faith. Preparation for stronger steadiness. Preparation for a testimony that calm days cannot produce. When Jesus finally stood, he did not struggle. He did not negotiate. He did not gradually calm the sea. He spoke, and it obeyed. That means the timing of intervention was never about capability. It was about purpose. He was never late. He was precise. And precision rarely aligns with panic. You measure urgency by emotion. He measures timing by design. You want relief now. He sees the full arc. You see the wave in front of you. He sees the shore ahead. And sometimes what feels like delay is simply divine confidence. Confidence that the boat will not sink. Confidence that the storm has limits. Confidence that fear will not have the final word. Confidence that you will emerge knowing him more deeply. Tonight, you may still feel wind in your thoughts. You may still feel movement in your circumstances. But shift the question. Instead of asking, why hasn't he stopped this yet? Ask, what might he be strengthening in me right now? Instead of assuming silence means neglect, consider that silence might mean trust. He is not scrambling. He is not anxious. He is not uncertain. He rests because the outcome is secure. And if the one with all authority can rest in the storm, perhaps you can begin to rest too. Not because the wind has stopped yet, but because it will answer when he speaks. Delay is not abandonment. Silence is not indifference. Stillness is not weakness. The story never ended with the storm. It ended with calm. And the same hand that silenced that sea still holds yours tonight. Let that truth soften your breathing. Let it quiet your racing thoughts. Let it replace urgency with surrender. You are not waiting alone. You are not drifting aimlessly. You are not forgotten in the delay. The calm is not absent. It is approaching. And when it comes, you will realize he was never sleeping on your future. He was resting in his authority over it. So now, as this night grows quieter, let your striving slow. Let your grip loosen. Let your heart trust what your eyes cannot yet see. The storm does not determine the ending. He does. And he has never lost control of a sea. Now, the wind has quieted in this story. The sea has settled. The boat is no longer rocking. And the same presence that stood in that storm remains with you here tonight. You have listened. You have reflected. You have carried your worries through this journey. And now it is time to set them down. Not because every question has been answered. Not because every wave has disappeared. But because you are not alone in the boat. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let the muscles in your body release what they have been holding. You do not have to solve tomorrow tonight. You do not have to predict outcomes before they arrive. You do not have to rehearse conversations that have not happened. The one who calmed the sea is not pacing about your future. He is steady. He is present. He is near. And you are allowed to rest. If there is still a storm in your thoughts, let it drift farther away now. Imagine the waves growing smaller. Imagine the wind fading into distance. Imagine the water becoming smooth like glass under moonlight. The sky above you no longer threatening, but vast, quiet, and full of stars. And in that boat, Jesus is not distant. He is not asleep in indifference. He is seated near you, calm, certain, unshaken. You do not need to understand everything to be held. You do not need to control everything to be secure. You do not need to fight every battle to be safe. Sometimes the most powerful act of faith is closing your eyes while the sea is still settling. So let this be your prayer tonight. Father, if the wind rises again, remind me who commands it. If the waves grow loud, Steady my heart. If fear tries to wake me, whisper peace over my thoughts. Teach me to trust your rest more than I trust my worry. Teach me to lean into your authority instead of leaning into anxiety. Where I am tense, bring release. Where I am afraid, bring assurance. Where I feel uncertain, bring stillness. You were in the boat then. You are in my life now. You were never threatened by the storm, and I am not beyond your care. So tonight, I surrender the things I cannot fix. I release the outcomes I cannot control. I place tomorrow in hands stronger than mine. Let your peace settle over this room. Let your presence quiet what fear has stirred. Let your authority stand guard over my sleep. The storm does not define me. The waves do not own me. The night does not overwhelm me. Because you are here. And if you are here, that is enough. Now breathe again. Slowly, gently. Let the story fade into calm. Let your thoughts become softer. Let your body grow heavier with rest. The sea has answered to him before. It still does. And as you drift toward sleep, remember this. The storm never had the final word. He did. And he still does. Rest now. You are held. Amen.